The year is 48 BC. Gaius Julius Caesar, conqueror of Gaul, vanquisher of Pompey, finds himself in a precarious position. He is not on a battlefield triumphant. He is trapped. He is besieged in the ancient city of Alexandria. The great general, master strategist, reduced to a prisoner within the palace walls. How could this be? The answer lies in the unpredictable currents of Egyptian politics and the ambitions of its rulers. Caesar had pursued his rival, Pompey the Great, across the Mediterranean. He finally cornered him in Egypt. But victory here held a bitter irony. Pompey, once a giant of Roman politics, was murdered upon his arrival by Egyptians seeking Caesar's favor. This act, meant to appease, backfired spectacularly. It ignited a firestorm that would engulf Caesar and the kingdom of Egypt. Alexandria, the jewel of the Nile, was a melting pot of cultures. It was a center of learning and commerce, yet beneath the city's vibrant veneer, a power struggle raged. The young pharaoh Ptolemy XIII and his sister, the infamous Cleopatra, were locked in a bitter feud for control of the throne. Caesar, arriving with his legions, walked into this hornet's nest. He became a pawn in this deadly game of power. Caesar, ever the pragmatist, sought to mediate between the siblings. He wanted stability in Egypt, a vital source of grain for Rome, but his presence, his very attempt at neutrality, was seen as a threat. The Egyptians, wary of Roman interference, viewed Caesar and his legions with suspicion. This mistrust would soon erupt into open hostility. The situation deteriorated rapidly. Caesar found himself isolated, his small force of legionaries bottled up in the royal palace. The Egyptians, vastly outnumbering the Romans, laid siege to the palace. Caesar was trapped, his back against the wall, the Mediterranean at his back. A dangerous game of cat and mouse ensued. Skirmishes broke out throughout the city. The Alexandrians used their knowledge of the city to their advantage. They launched surprise attacks from narrow alleyways. They harassed the Romans with projectiles launched from rooftops. Caesar, a master of logistics and strategy, realized the precariousness of his situation. He needed to secure supplies, reinforce his position, and find a way to break free from the Egyptian stranglehold. Caesar, always a resourceful commander, ordered his men to fortify the palace. They used whatever materials they could find to construct makeshift barricades. Food and water were rationed. The situation grew desperate. The Egyptians, determined to starve Caesar out, blockaded the harbor. They intended to trap the Romans between their legions and the sea. Caesar, in a bold and risky move, decided to burn the Egyptian fleet. He aimed to break the blockade and create chaos. The fires, however, quickly spread out of control. Fanned by the wind, they engulfed the city. The great library of Alexandria, a repository of ancient knowledge, was consumed by the flames. It was a devastating loss, a tragic consequence of war. As the siege dragged on, a new player emerged from the shadows. Cleopatra, the ambitious younger sister of Ptolemy, saw an opportunity in the chaos. She had her own designs on the throne and knew an alliance with Caesar could be her path to power. Her entrance was both daring and theatrical. Cleopatra, defying the blockade, had herself smuggled into Caesar's quarters. She arrived rolled up in a carpet, a gift for the Roman general. Her gamble paid off. Caesar, impressed by her courage and intelligence, agreed to support her claim to the throne. The alliance shifted the balance of power in Alexandria. It added a new layer of complexity to the conflict. The siege continued, each side locked in a deadly embrace. Water became a weapon. The Egyptians controlled the canals and aqueducts that supplied the palace. Caesar's men began to suffer from thirst. Tensions rose. Desperation grew. Caesar ordered his engineers to dig wells, searching for a source of fresh water. The Egyptians, sensing the Romans' desperation, launched a surprise attack on the harbor. They hoped to capture Caesar's remaining warships and cut off any chance of escape or resupply. A fierce naval battle erupted in the confines of the harbor. Roman and Egyptian ships clashed. The water ran red with blood. The battle raged around the Pharos, the famed lighthouse of Alexandria, one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. Control of the lighthouse meant control of the harbor. Caesar, recognizing its strategic importance, ordered his men to seize it. The fighting was brutal, hand-to-hand combat on the narrow confines of the island fortress. Caesar himself, leading a small contingent of troops, was surrounded and cut off. He was forced to jump into the sea and swim for his life, clutching important documents in one hand as he fought to stay afloat. He was rescued by his men, but the incident highlighted the precariousness of the Roman position.
Breaking news.
Just when all hope seemed lost, a glimmer of hope appeared on the horizon. Mithridates of Pergamum, a loyal ally of Caesar, arrived with reinforcements. He had marched across Egypt, fighting his way through Ptolemy's forces to relieve the siege. The arrival of these fresh troops boosted the morale of the beleaguered Romans. With their combined forces, Caesar and Mithridates launched a counterattack. They broke out of the palace and engaged the Egyptians in a decisive battle on the outskirts of Alexandria. The tide had turned. Roman discipline and training began to tell. The Egyptian forces, despite their numbers, were routed. The Battle of the Nile, as it came to be known, marked a turning point in the war. Ptolemy XIII, attempting to escape across the Nile, drowned when his boat capsized. His death paved the way for Cleopatra to ascend to the throne. Caesar had achieved his objective. He had secured Egypt, installed an ally as ruler, and crushed his enemies. The Siege of Alexandria, though a dangerous gamble, showcased Caesar's military genius. His ability to adapt to unforeseen circumstances, to inspire his troops against overwhelming odds, and to forge alliances cemented his legend. His escape from Alexandria was more than just a military victory. It was a testament to his indomitable spirit and his mastery of both warfare and politics. The events in Egypt would have lasting consequences, shaping the destiny of Rome and Egypt for years to come.